Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ReQuest. It is me, Captain Logan, and look, as always, it's Austin, the Day Ghost, and I just want to open this whole thing up by saying, Geekvolution! Fuck yeah!
Fuck yeah!
Austin, how are you, man?
I'm good. How the fuck are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Are you excited to talk about a very raunchy and controversial and offensive film?
I don't know, but I'm excited to just say fuck over and over again, like it's the beginning of Logan, where we like really got to get it out of our system.
Yeah, and then you know what we'll do? It'll be like with South Park. We'll forget we can do it, and then we'll quit doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to. I think we did that with South Park, except for when we had to quote things.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember. That feels like it was like 8 years ago at this point.
It does. I keep feeling like I need to do a lot of comparison contrast with this movie to the South Park movie, and I'm not remembering a ton about that, except I liked it okay. I was surprised that I liked it as well as I did, and we talked about, music and stuff, and we talked about that movie a shockingly long time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because in the title I said like Geekvolution shorter and something that it wasn't. It was like an hour and 15 minutes or whatever.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's to be expected.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird one, just like with the South Park movie. I don't know why people keep wanting me to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm the least qualified person in the world to talk about this, and I am too prudish and family-friendly for this goddamn nonsense. But I'm doing it anyway because it was requested, and this one was requested by Chewbacca's Lover on Patreon, and in all seriousness, thanks so much to him for the request. And as always, if you would like to request something, you can go to patreon.com/Geekvolution, and the $15 tier makes that possible. Just expect a 4 to 5 month turnaround right now, because we have quite a few people at that tier right now, or that have requested things. Don't feel like you have to stay on the tier that whole time. If you stay in for at least a month, it will. I'll have that on the list, and we will definitely tackle your request. But quick spiel about that, because I never mention it, and I probably should be. Maybe not, because we have so many things requested. But
No, we need to get more crazy out there things on request.
But just like with the South Park movie, I kind of felt like it wasn't really possible to talk about this without swearing, because it would be so difficult to get around the landmines of language and stuff. Like, without being able to say dick and asshole, I don't really know how to review this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the most common used words.
Yeah, they show up as much as anything else in the film.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was made
them.
back in, this comes out in 2004. It's made by the producers of South Park, same guys that did that movie and, of course, the TV show. And it is the same sort of thing in its way, where it's a lot of kind of social satire, and it's also making fun of the medium that it's in, except this time, instead of being cartoons, it's about puppets, and instead of being about poor public education and movies for children and whether or not we should let children see R-rated films. This one is just somewhat more generically about the war on terror that was happening right then, which seemed like kind of the obvious thing to go to, and we'll talk about that, because these guys seem to think they were doing something really different, and I'm not totally sure they really were. But we'll talk about all of that. Austin, would you give us a real quick synopsis of this movie, please? Oh, and did I say puppets? Yes, I said puppets. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we got puppets in there. We got puppets. Make sure everybody knows it's about puppets.
It's very important. Hey, I just want to prove that I watched the movie, okay?
I mean, yeah, if that proves it.
Okay, I can prove that I looked up something about that. No, I did watch the movie. I can't promise that I looked at every frame of this movie. There is a place where I looked away for a good 2 minutes, and I'm sure you can guess where that was.
Well, I mean, I'd also imagine there's no movie you've seen every frame of, because, like, blinking exists.
Well, that's true. But I can't even promise that I watched every scene in its entirety, even with blinking. There was one scene that I listened to but did not look at. Can you guess it?
Is it the sex scene?
No, that I stuck through.
Okay.
Okay. I'm surprised you don't know it right away, given, I mean, you know me really well.
No, of course. I don't know why, but like my mind blocked it out. So I was trying to think. I'm like,
Oh, I wish mine could. Just listening to it,
I'm like,
it can't. That
hey,
was
I was
horrible.
eating while watching it, so
That was the mistake I made too. That's part of the reason I had to look away. I was having a sandwich. I wish I hadn't been having a sandwich.
see, I have a rock hard stomach. That stuff doesn't bother me. But
God, I wish I
was
did.
just like, oh man.
Yeah, that was disgusting. There's just a constant vomit sequence.
Yeah. Well, and I also
Comedic pacing vomiting.
yeah, and I clicked it on Amazon, and it was like, "Did you know that this is a reference to Monty Python?" And I was like, "No, okay." Anyways, moving on.
Oh, good to know. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
thanks
give us a
for that.
synopsis of Team America World Police. See, even the
Team-
theme is in the title.
Exactly.
Because it's all about policing the world.
Mhm.
That's
And it's all about being a team of America.
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, Team America World Police is like an R-rated GI Joe. You got this team, and they're gonna stop terrorism. And at the beginning, they lose one of their members, so they get an actor to replace him. And they have that actor go undercover as a terrorist to find out about terroristy things. And then they basically just fight terrorists and their puppets, and it goes through like a Michael Bay action movie formula. And Kim Jong-il is the bad guy, and all the terrorists are kind of being funded by him. And a bunch of actors led by I almost said Ben Affleck. I keep wanting to go to Ben Affleck. Like, even when thinking about it today, I'm like, oh yeah, like the main actor, Ben Affleck. No, he's not even in this movie. So
It's a little weird they didn't go to Affleck, honestly.
because Damon's in it, and they're so like connected at that point.
Well, but also, and like, no offense to Ben Affleck when I say this, but like, I feel like he's got a lot more of the reputation of, and especially back then, of either not being a great actor or being kind of an airhead.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's
when they've got a Matt Damon who just keeps saying Matt Damon over and over again, which is a joke I don't fully understand, and like people in the comments or the first thing people went to was Matt Damon, like that's the funniest joke in the thing, and if like, I guess people really like that. I didn't get that joke, and neither did Matt Damon. I did a little bit of research on this, and he was like, I don't really understand that joke. And he said this in 2016, by the way. Somebody asked him about it.
Oh, weird. So it's not even like he said it back then.
No, he said it in 16, and he was like, look, back then I was already an actor and a writer. I don't really understand the, like, I'm a vapid airhead joke. And then apparently it was...
Pokemon.
Yeah, and, like, it's sort of funny, but it doesn't matter who it is was kind of my problem with it as a joke.
Well, it's because the thing that it reminded me of was the Kite Man Hell Yeah thing in Tom King, where I just look at it and I go, but what does that have to do with Matt Damon or Kite Man? Like, it's just you came up with a joke.
You just
and
gave him a catchphrase.
Really...
It's not even a joke. Like, what's the joke? It's just a catchphrase.
Yeah. Well, they're both jokes where I go, I don't get it. What's the joke? They both just say a thing over and over.
Yeah. But apparently they did that just because that puppet looked like an idiot to them. Like, they made the puppet and they went, oh, he looks like there's nothing behind his eyes. We'll just have him keep saying Matt Damon over and over again. And that, I don't know, it just seems like there's too many jokes for the people that made the movie in this movie. Like, there's some kind of self-indulgent stuff. Don't get me wrong, I laughed out loud at some stuff. This movie absolutely had its moments. There's some really funny stuff, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, because Austin, I think you will be, I'll tease this, I think you will be somewhat surprised by my response to this movie.
Oh, okay, interesting. That's fascinating. I'm pretty sure I got to the end of my summary on the plot.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted.
No. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, where did I leave off? I think I got to the end of it. Oh, I said the Ben Affleck thing. It's Alec Baldwin leads like a bunch of actors against them, and they're kind of helping Kim Jong-il in a way.
Yeah, until there's a stirring potty humor speech at the end from our main character, who's just repeating verbatim almost a speech that he heard from a crazy drunk man at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
then,
but yeah.
and then at the end, the message seems to be, even though the whole satire seemed to be about America polices the world, and we think we're better than everyone, and we're the world's superpower, so we're in charge. So we have to, tell everybody what to do themselves and kind of like be the superheroes. You get to the end, and the moral of the story, if there is one, seems to be, yeah, but we kind of have to be that because we are the most powerful in the world. So like maybe we kind of suck sometimes, but what else are we gonna do? Seems to be the point of it, which seemed a little bit at odds of where it was at the beginning. With the song that's like freedom is the only way, which I thought was kind of making fun of the standard kind of company line for America. And then you get to the end and it kind of suggests that's true, I think.
Yeah, the America Fuck Yeah song.
Yeah. It's a little sloppy in its messaging. Like, I don't think this movie is as good as a social satire, as a like political farce, as it is as a like genre parody of action movies. That's where it got me a lot more. And the more it was doing the actual, like, topical, in-the-moment war on terror stuff, the more it lost me.
Oh, okay, interesting, yeah. I don't know, it's very fitting, because the America Fuck Yeah song, which isn't fully in the movie, but there's a line at the end of the actual song where I go, this, like, goes completely against the message of the song, but okay.
Yeah, what's the line?
So the whole like when you get to the end of the song, it's like they just start like naming things where they're like, these things were created by America, fuck yeah, and it just like names anything, like it'll be like books, fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, I did hear the whole song because it's in the credits.
Yeah, but like they hit a certain point where there's ones where they're more like questioning, where it's like Bed Bath and Beyond, fuck yeah. I don't know.
Oh, but maybe the whole thing isn't in the credits then. I didn't hear that part.
But there's a part where
I got like Walmart and some things.
Yeah, that's in there too. But there's a part where they go like, Democrats, fuck yeah, Republicans, fuck yeah, and I'm like, that should be reversed to like fit the joke. I don't know.
I think so too.
And I thought that even as a kid, like when I first heard it, I was like, that makes more sense to me for the joke you're making. But
again, it's almost too self-indulgent or self-aware, where like it's too much from at that point the perspective of the filmmakers as opposed to like the actual satire.
Yeah, possibly.
Where if it's like America, fuck yeah, you're going, and like it's impossible not to go to political places because that's what the movie's about.
Yeah, well, like I said, I thought that when I was like 12. When I first heard the song, I was like, that makes more sense flipped. But
yeah, it's the whole America thing.
Yeah, exactly.
America.
That's not a political stance. That's the joke you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a satire. A brand of satire in this movie that I actually think works really well, and then it loses me at some point. What I was really taken with, I want to say really about halfway through the movie, was making fun of, like, really exaggerating, but what was weird about it is it wasn't as exaggerated as it should be. And like, that's not a knock against the movie. I mean, I think that the movies that they're making fun of, even in the early 2000s, and it's gotten worse to some degree, or there are movies that are just as bad or worse than this after that, are not as out there as you'd think they should be compared to this. But this is making fun of like Michael Bay movies and those kinds of things, and it's giving you, like Austin said earlier, the bare bones formula, but every character is taking themselves so goddamn seriously and is playing everything totally straight, and all the cliches are there. And the thing that I was most impressed with was the way it tiptoes, where like it's not emotionally manipulative, it's pretending to be. And I really liked all that stuff. There's a lot of places where, like, especially in all the melodrama with the, like, with the romance stuff, where like I can't take any of it seriously. It's really stupid. It's really contrived. I'm not buying any character really with any of their and also with romances, but also backstories, right? Because it's easy to look at, I think, for instance, the backstory with Gary and his acting somehow getting his brother killed by gorillas as just, here's a really goofy, silly backstory you made up so that we can laugh at a thing that you're pretending like really uh is really dramatic and heartfelt. We're supposed to be like sniffling with tissues. But then, Austin, I'm thinking back to every action movie that's had a really contrived, and superhero movies too, really contrived backstories for characters that play like that. If you really think about it for more than 3 seconds, where you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem plausible. Or that seems like a thing where you roll the d20 and you just gave the guy like a really sad backstory and you're just trying to manipulate my feeling for him. That stuff played for me.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That reminded me of like the kind of cliche Pixar backstory where you have like the sad song that plays, and then they go, this is what happened. Like I was left all alone.
Yeah, but some of those worked for me though. I guess the problem is it becomes more of a cliche the more times you see it.
Well, that's the thing is there are obviously times where that does work, but
because they do that in Toy Story 2, and I
no,
kind of teared up every time,
Toy
man.
Story
like,
2. I don't know if it works as well after that, but it works in that movie.
The two that work the best, just while we're there, are that one and then the first 10 minutes of Up.
Okay, and I've never seen Up, so
that one I was I was having dinner at a fork and screen, and I was crying into my pizza. That is perfect. I mean, it really works. It's fantastic.
I'm crying tears of grease.
Yeah, exactly. It was disgusting.
That's worse than the vomit scene in this movie. That's gross.
And then I got to the middle of the movie, and Gary decides that his acting is getting people killed and he's never going to act again. And he leaves and he becomes, I almost said he becomes a bum, but he's just like at his lowest point, and he goes to a bar and he's whining, and then you have the throw up scene. And from that moment on, the movie kind of lost me. I was kind of out at that point. That was about I said halfway through, that was about the hour mark, I think. And really,
I think so.
Up to that, and then the whole third act, all that stuff kind of went too far at that point. But before that, I was impressed with it as a parody of action movies, and just like how easily they manipulate people. That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, for sure. Which is funny because I had like one laugh, and it's like the exact moment where it loses you. Where
Oh wow.
the big thing I laughed at was the slow version of America Fuck Yeah, only because I went, wait a minute, have we been doing this long? Like, it really caught me off guard because I always think of that as a more recent thing. And then you get to that point where it's like, America, fuck yeah. Like, that's really funny.
So I can tell that you were not real impressed with the humor with this movie. I don't know if maybe my standards have dropped for some reason, but like a lot of the music got me. Like I thought the songs were funny.
Yeah, and so I didn't find like most of the songs super memorable, especially compared to the South Park movie.
Yeah.
But the America Fuck Yeah song I've heard like 8 billion times because it was like really popular in the early days of the internet.
I still hear people do that, and I didn't know what it was until now. So like at least I know it for memes and shit.
No, there's probably like 8 billion G.I. Joe music videos set to that song if you look it up on YouTube right now.
I bet. By the way, you said G.I. Joe earlier, and I just wanted to mention that, of course, the thing they were mainly looking at actually was Thunderbirds.
Oh, okay. I don't even know what that is.
So that was a show that I think it was in maybe the 70s that did the same thing this does, where it's using puppets. It's like doll. It looks like dolls. It looks almost like Mego dolls, and it's an action show, and they're taking themselves insanely seriously, just like this is, but there's like no humor to it at all.
Mhm.
And they apparently the producers saw an episode of that in a hotel room and were really surprised by how humorless it was, and they were bored by it and it didn't do anything for them. And then it occurred to them that it might be amusing to lampoon that as like visually the thing to do with a project. And I think the choice to do this with puppets is curious. Like, I don't know what the point of it is with this particular material beyond let's just see if we can do it. Like, how high can we make the production values? And I think this is also more interesting as a technical achievement with that than it is as a social satire again. But also, I guess it's just we're all puppets. Like, is it actually saying anything with that? Am I even like going too far and reading too much into it to suggest that they're even thinking about the fact that their characters are all puppets and the theme of the movie might sort of be that like you've got the actors that are like the puppets of Hollywood or of the Screen Actors Guild, and then you have the like blind, not really thinking about anything soldiers that are the puppets of the government. But then again, when you get to the end, the government kind of wins. So like, I don't know. But like in my reading, like some critics suggested that it's puppets because we're all puppets, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's that or.
That was a thing Ebert brought up, and Ebert hated this movie, by the way.
Oh, really? That's really funny.
Yeah, he didn't like that, and I don't want to just talk about other critics. I know I bring up Ebert all the time, but I was too curious to know what he would think about this, because he liked the South Park movie better than this, and I think I brought him up with that, so it only stood to reason that I would bring it up again here. But he didn't like the choice to like equally try to offend both sides, because he felt like by the end of it, the movie's not really saying anything about anything, and he felt like it was just kind of mean-spirited and offensive for the sake of that. He used the word nihilistic. He was like, I wasn't offended by the content so much as the nihilism.
Oh, okay, interesting. Which I mean, I guess is fair. That's not something that really bothers me, but I don't know. That's I make fun of everything. So
well, I was confused by it more than anything, because somebody earlier in the comments said that this is like a really good biting satire about the war on terrorism or the Iraq War, and I'm like, it wants to be that, but it like I said earlier, it didn't play as well as for me as I feel like it ought to have, as like a criticism of the war on terror and what was happening with foreign policy then, partly because, and I don't know, like it can make whatever point it wants to make about that, but like I said, it felt kind of at odds with itself. I was like, is this a criticism of it, or if at the end are we just throwing our hands in the air and saying, I mean, what else are we supposed to do? And then when you're making fun of things like countries having or not having weapons of mass destruction, that kind of thing, it's a little bit weird not to include the president at all. Like, whatever you're going to say about that, it felt like there was this intentional avoidance of dealing with the main criticism people had about that period, which was the White House pretending like something was there that wasn't there. That was the that was the Democrats' main issue with the way that whole thing was handled. How are you not addressing that? Like, whatever side you're on with it, whether you're going to kind of be in the middle and be libertarian about it or whatever. Like I've seen, while I was doing some reading, like apparently some Republican groups heralded this as like a great conservative movie, and I'm like, I don't see that. You're cherry picking. You're picking the stuff that you like about it. Where okay, you're making fun of
The kind of like liberal actor
liberal
thing.
actors and stuff,
Mhm.
but you're also making fun of the America fuck yeah thing. Let's be blind patriots. Isn't that also in there? So like it's playing both sides, and I think there's a way to do that and still get at something. But I don't think at the end it's actually really getting at anything.
Yeah, that was what I had with a lot of it. Was a lot of the commentary felt kind of surface level, where it was like, yeah, like liberal actors, they're like, we're gonna support Kim Jong Il over Team America because whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. Most of it ultimately is just LOL. Look at the actors. Like reference here's Ben Affleck, but it's not Ben Affleck. It's Alec Baldwin, and Matt Damon, and Helen Hunt, and like you just keep like naming them off, and like half of their scenes is just that,
I do have to
and
give
I'm
them
like,
they nailed the Helen Hunt face. Like that was
that is true. That is
perfect. Yeah, it didn't matter who they were.
true. Hmm.
That like were they picking actors that specifically had a reputation for like getting on camera and crusading for things, or was it just whoever they felt like making fun of? Like were they because like they're making fun of celebrities advocating for things, because there's one line I really liked about that, and I wish that they'd driven it more home. There's I can't remember if it's Helen Hunt or who brings it up, but I think it was her. One of the actresses says, "Well, we have to." It's important that actors read the news and then go on TV and regurgitate it. Like we have a duty to do that. I thought that was really funny, but then that was the whole joke. Like that was it.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, stuff like that made me feel like this would have maybe been a better episode of South Park than a movie in and of itself. Where like maybe they go to see this like Team America movie, and they're like, "Oh, we like this movie," and then Kim Jong Il goes, "Hey, like you demonized me in your movie, and now I'm mad," and the actors side with him, and like you maybe do a joke there. Like I don't know, but it felt stretched thin for a movie plot.
Yeah, and I don't think it had to, because it felt to me like, and I always say this, I don't want to rewrite the thing, and I don't want to say that the movie's not, that I don't like the movie because, and I don't fully dislike this movie. I'm a little bit neutral on it, to be honest with you. Um, I don't want to say that it doesn't work because it's not doing what I wanted it to or where I thought it was
Mhm.
going,
Yeah, of
but
course.
there was a natural place thematically it felt like all roads were leading to in my mind, and then it it didn't gel there or go anywhere else either. Where it just seemed like a big missed opportunity. So you've got two things that don't seem to have very much to do with each other. You've got acting, just like as a theme in and of itself, like using that skill to obtain something, and then you have uh, foreign policy, war on terror. How do you get to the end of this movie and the speech or the lesson at the end doesn't have anything to do with like acting, like behavior?
Mhm.
Like there's a real correlation to be made there. What I was confused about was that you had these two things that seemed totally separate, and yet there's a clear vergence point with them story wise. And I realize the whole thing is a farce and it's pretending to be like real self important where it isn't, and yet there was a story it could have told, and it's weird that it didn't do any of this. So your main character is an actor, and then who isn't sure he should keep acting. Although it's kind of weird that with the thing that happened with his backstory, Austin, that he goes and becomes a famous stage actor,
Mhm.
and it doesn't seem to be weirded out by that at all. But then he goes undercover, and then a bunch of people get killed, but it's not really all that much his fault anyway. I don't know. That whole thing was weird to me. I was like, this whole time you've been fine being an actor, but like now it's too okay.
Yeah, now that you're saying that though, it is really weird that there's no real jokes about the difference between being a politician and an actor, and how
Yeah.
there's like an element in which they overlap.
Yeah, and also that I guess I don't mean to ramble. I guess what I'm trying to get at is your main character is an actor, and then the kind of group of pseudo villains that are supporting Kim Jong Il at the end are actors, and you didn't do anything with that. Like, there's no discussion about that. There's not like how does he not have a speech at the end that's more about okay, we are actors. The responsibility we have is to like set it, or the only thing we can do to help anything really is to set an example. Like maybe we shouldn't go out there and like proselytize for a political view because we don't really know anything about anything. Like that seemed to be the joke, right? Like we don't really know anything. We're just actors. But then here's like the power that we really do have. And so maybe like instead of trying to like help America police the war or police the world, pardon me, we should just set a good example, like maybe America should. That's where I thought it was going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
and again, it doesn't have to make that point necessarily. You could go some other place, but it kind of didn't go anywhere with it. The missed opportunity is you've got an actor who's your good guy and actors who are your bad guys, and you never had a conversation about that? That's weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think even because obviously, this is more farcical, like, there's jokes to be mined out of that.
That too, yeah.
Even if it's not just like a plot thing. Because that's my main issue, is I just didn't find most of this funny. And I feel like I saw it too late, is my kind of main thing. Where I feel like this is the type of movie where I would watch when I'm like a little bit younger, maybe like 13-ish, and be like, this is a really funny movie. And then maybe now I'd be like, oh, it didn't live up or like hold up as much as when I was younger. But I don't have that attachment, so I just kind of went, yeah, like I don't know, I don't find most of this funny.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see how many people that missed it, that watch it now at your age or my age, would find it as funny and memorable as people that saw it when they were younger or when it came out. Daniverse made a point that I wanted to make too, which is he says it works more in a context of 2004. This is something of a you had to be there thing, in my mind. I feel like
to an extent, but I also feel like most of the jokes come down to foreign people talk funny. They're puppets, which I think gets old really quickly. Like I thought that was funny for at least like the first scene, and then after a while I went, okay, like they're puppets. Like we're essentially repeating the same joke over and over again.
I'm gonna argue with you about that.
No, that's fair.
Because
feel free to do so.
I was worried that I would have that, and I actually liked it more than I expected to. Like I can totally see why that would wear thin, and some of this is subjective, right? It's kind of stupid for us. Of course. I found that funny. I did not find that funny. This is not an interesting analysis. But what I will say is there was more variety in that than I expected, and then I think you're maybe even giving it credit for with respect. Because at the beginning, they've got what I think is a funny joke, but I was worried they were gonna try to mine it too long, and it doesn't come up as much as I expected it to. So I respected it for that. You've got that joke right at the beginning where we're going to have a big, exciting, what you would expect to be choreographed action scene, but it's just two puppets doing this at each other, right? Mm-hmm. And but then you've got like the big epic music behind it, and I wanted the camera to do more during that. But you got the two puppets that are just
really cut it to pieces.
Yeah.
Like you would in an action movie like that, yeah.
But what I liked about it is every time this is the running joke that I actually thought worked about it. Every time the fact that they're puppets comes up, it's like a practical issue getting in the way of whatever they're trying to accomplish in a scene, and they never talk about it. Which I was really happy about. Again, the characters in the thing more or less play it straight. So the tongue-in-cheek aspect is the production knows they're puppets, and it feels like a film crew trying to figure out how to make puppets do things. And some of those jokes, I think, came out of the adversity of this being a really hard fucking movie to make.
No,
because
that's
I
absolutely
read
true.
about that, and they had an impossible time getting this thing together, and apparently the puppets never did any goddamn thing they wanted them to. And so I felt like they were actually getting, like, I wonder how much of that was in the script and how much of it was, we had an elaborate thing this puppet was supposed to do, but we made a joke out of how impossible it was. So here's the couple I thought were actually really funny. The bit where I think it's when they first go to the Middle East and Gary is in his really horrible disguise, and it's horrible, and it was hard to look at, and I was afraid he was going to be in it the whole movie, and I was like, I don't want to look at the patchy cheeks the whole. I was really glad that they got rid of that at some point, and he goes, one of the people he's working with, and by the way, these characters were all difficult for me to tell apart and remember names and stuff, but the besides the protagonist.
Well, it's also not helped by the fact that everyone has one of two voices.
Yeah, that too. But anyway, one of them says, "Do you remember our code word or our high sign or whatever?" And he just goes like this.
Or it's like,
yeah, I thought that was really funny. And then the Matrix bit, I was down with toward the end,
yeah.
where like they jump up and the camera doesn't move, and then the marionettes just flip around. That was pretty good.
With the that one specific one you talked about, the first one, the sign thing.
Yeah.
I thought the payoff for that was pretty funny. Where like he's in the truck, like flailing around, and they're like, "What is he doing? I think he's taunting us or something like that." Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and did you catch that? There's even a callback to that again in the third act.
Oh, I think I might have missed that.
There's a place where the guy, I think it's the guy that hates him for being an actor, with the glasses, the Tom Cruise looking guy. There's a point where he and one of the women, I think, I forget, is walking away, and if you listen real close, you can hear him trying to tell the story about the weird guy in the back of that Jeep.
Oh,
and
okay.
he still doesn't know it was Gary. That's really funny. But yeah, that was in there.
Okay, I missed that. Yeah, that is pretty funny.
I like that bit. Hey, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you'll know this because you're younger than me, but in 2004, like this early, was it already a common mistake that people in the general public would make to think that Sam Jackson was Lawrence Fishburne? Was that already happening? Because there seems to be a joke about it in this. And I didn't think it went back that far.
I'm trying to think about when that interview was. Because there was that, like, big, famous interview where
the interview's later than that.
Yeah.
That's 5 or 6 years later at least, I think.
Okay.
But, and Sam Jackson, part of the reason that interview is so funny is because he's dealt with this before. Like, people think he's Lawrence Fishburne. But the Sam Jackson, the made-up Sam Jackson character in this, because, of course, none of them are the real voices, but Sam Jackson in this movie has a Morpheus quote. And I'm like, are they making fun of the fact that people think that Sam Jackson is Lawrence Fishburne, or do they think Sam Jackson is Lawrence Fishburne? Or like, what is happening? I wasn't sure.
Now I want to imagine that they thought he was Lawrence Fishburne.
Cause did you catch it? Because I know you're not really a Matrix guy, are you?
I've seen the first one twice, but I've never seen the sequels.
Did you catch the bit where he yells, "Stop trying to hit me and hit me"? That's Morpheus.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a Morpheus.
Yeah, he goes, "Stop trying to hit me and hit me." I'm like, "You're not Lawrence Fishburne." And then I was like, "Is that the joke? I don't even know if that's the joke." And then immediately his head gets cut in half.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't recognize that as a Morpheus line. So no, I guess it probably just does go back that far.
It must.
Yeah, I don't know. It must go back to the 90s. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe in 1999, there were reviews where people were like, wow, Sam Jackson was really good in The Matrix. They're like, that's Lawrence Fishburne. And you know what I don't understand about that? And the reason it's... I don't like it when people jump the gun with that kind of thing and go, oh, that person is racist because he thought this black person looked like this black person. But They don't look or sound anything at all alike.
Not even remotely.
Not even a little bit at all whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
even at that time, they're totally different builds.
Mhm.
Like, they're different heights. They don't look anything alike at all.
Yeah, no, it's like when I was a kid, I couldn't remember which one was which for Chris Tucker and Michael Jackson because they both have high-pitched voices. But I was like, I don't remember which is which one's Chris Tucker and which is Michael Jackson. But like they also don't look anything alike.
At all
That's
whatsoever.
just my voice.
That's hilarious.
I
Yeah.
don't know, like
And
fine.
I don't think there's one thing that Michael Jackson was good at that Chris Tucker is capable of.
I don't think there's anything Chris Tucker is capable of.
Oh, that's mean. I wasn't going to a mean place. I'm just saying they have different skill sets.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, Michael Jackson's been in movies. He's in Moonraker.
No, I know. I'm saying I don't think Chris Tucker could moonwalk.
Yeah, well, he
I
probably
don't think
can't.
he could sing. That's the point I'm... Okay, anyway. What?
Anyway.
He's missing my entire point here on multiple levels. Philip Kelton.
Whose line's on first?
Let me read these super chats real quick. And sorry for not getting to them earlier because I don't know what he's referring to here. But Philip Kelton put in a super chat and said, "Well, they are building a world run by Muppets," and I don't know what point we were making that he was referring to.
That was when you were saying, "Is it too much of a stretch that they're all puppets?" And like that's the point.
Yeah.
So that came in when you were saying that.
Okay, but like, but how does that back up or argue with that point though? I just don't understand what he means.
I don't know. You're reading too far into it.
Oh, am I? Okay.
I don't know.
Philip Kelton also wrote puppet governments. Yeah. I mean, there is that if they're playing with that play on words. But I'm not sure. And then he also put in another super chat and said, "Is there anything about Team America that reminds you of Captain America: Civil War?" No, not right off. I mean, I didn't have that thought. No.
Yeah, they're not very similar. It would be closer to Winter Soldier, I would think. Just with him like on the moving around hunting terrorists, at least at the beginning. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess maybe at the beginning of Civil War too.
Yeah, because it's in that spice fiction place for that opening sequence. Because
Yeah,
it's kind of got to
exactly.
transition into the more kind of grander scale thing it's doing.
Yeah, it's got to kind of transition into the superhero movie.
And the more political thriller before the spy thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
Fidelio, to me, this isn't necessarily saying anything about that particular time and the politics around it. It's just a window into it. Borat had a similar function. Yeah, it's weird. I just couldn't decide if there was like anything in particular they were any point they were trying to make, really. And then you get to the end and it feels like there's a message. What's complicated sometimes about farces like this is the message like I don't know, it's almost like a three-dimensional chess thing. Is the message there because movies like this have messages, so that's the message of the serious movie but not the satire, like the serious movie that the satire is pretending to be? Do you see what I'm saying? So like that's not the message that we're supposed to, that's not the message that we're supposed to take from it. It's still following the formula. And I think the problem is at some point the like the action movie formula was not as funny and poignant, wasn't resonating with me like it did in the first half. So I kind of lost sight of that and kind of started weirdly looking at it more like just a movie, as I wasn't liking it as well.
Probably because
I don't know.
That kind of a speech thing isn't typically what we did in action movies, especially in that point.
Hey, Rocky IV.
No, but that's like 20 years earlier. Because that's exactly what I was thinking too. Was Rocky IV?
Yeah,
but that's
well,
like
and they're making fun of action movies all across the board. I mean, their research included Alien and lots of other things.
Yeah, no, that is true.
They even bring up Rocky. I like the montage song. I kind of wish it almost feels like it belongs in a different movie. Like I almost wish the whole movie was that movie.
Yeah, I also thought the music stuff was weird because It's not enough of a musical, I didn't think. Like, there's a few songs, but it's mostly just America Fuck Yeah over and over again. It's like it kind of felt weirder to me when we got to other songs.
Here's why I'm okay with it. It
Mhm.
fits the amount of them and the proximity away from each other is pretty right for that kind of action movie, especially in the 90s. Like it's not a musical so much as it's pretending to have incidental music in it,
Mhm. Yeah.
but it's
Well, that's
music.
definitely what the America Fuck Yeah song is.
Well, and a lot of the terrible country song is that, and I thought that was a funny song. Like it's narrating exactly what you're looking at because we often pick music or write music that kind of feels like we're just telling you what you're supposed to feel in the scene or saying exactly what's happening in the scene. So I like the montage song just going like, this is a montage, this is the point of it in a movie. But then I kind of wanted more of that kind of thing. But I don't think the number of songs, the proximity was really a problem. It would have been if it was an actual musical.
No, and that's fair too. I think it was just every now and then I would go, "Oh yeah, like I guess this is kind of a musical."
There's also more Top Gun in this movie than you're giving it credit for because
And I've never seen Top Gun, so
okay, because
that's
well,
probably a big thing.
fair enough, and my apologies, but
No, no,
the
okay.
but something that I always laugh at Top Gun for is it has one popular song for the romance scenes, and it keeps like coming in and out of it constantly. So every time Tom Cruise and I can't remember her name, but the girlfriend are like walking together, or they're like coming up on like the sex scene or whatever, you get and it's every time, and I never stop laughing at it when I watch that movie. So I really like that country song comes back on a jukebox.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because you get it earlier in the movie, and like action movies will do this, where they'll like recycle songs they've done already.
Yeah, like Ragnarok. Uh, okay, yeah. Well, uh, that's fair in my ignorance to Top Gun. Did they at least bring that song back in Maverick?
No, I was waiting for it the whole time.
Ah,
And they did not.
they bring in Tom Cruise's new love interest, who's like 40 years younger than he is.
Yeah, it really helps that Tom Cruise doesn't look his age. Because
Yeah.
because all through that movie, I did have to keep reminding myself of that, where I'm like, wait a minute, he's dating a girl that's about the same age as the one from the first movie, but it's like 30 years later.
Oh, and I was just joking about other Tom Cruise movies. I didn't realize they also did it in Maverick.
No,
I
they do
don't
it in
know anything
Maverick
about
too.
Maverick. Okay, of course.
Maverick is great, by the way, but that is amusing. Fidelio, I don't think their political stances are contradictory. They're pretty consistently libertarians. I'm on the left, but I think their perspective on these issues is funny, regardless of point. Yes, and I realize that they're libertarians, and I caught that doing some reading. Not that I couldn't have guessed with South Park and stuff, but with but yeah, I didn't feel like the stances, their personal stances, were contradictory or anything. It just seemed like in the movie, I didn't really know what they were getting at.
Yeah, for me, with a lot of the political stuff in this, it's not so much that it contradicts; it's that I just found it kind of surface level. Like, I didn't think the celebrity stuff went far enough in making fun of the actual like social component as much as it was just like, hey, LOL, look at these celebrities.
Yeah, I'm not fully with Ebert that it's a problem that it makes fun of both sides. Like, I like
No,
that.
yeah, I
I
prefer that to like a lot of things that I think are too biased. So
Yeah, it just felt like and as I always say, that doesn't mean that you can't make an argument for a side in a movie if
yeah, of
you're
course.
not like preachy or condescending or pretending like everyone that is watching the movie, of course, must agree with you, right? Like, no, make an argument, but with and I don't mean to talk in circles, but when you get to the end of this, it just seemed kind of weird. Uh, Again, unless it was the message of the serious movie, not the farce, that you seem to be saying America really does have to police the world, when I thought the satire was maybe it's not good that America's policing the world. Like, Or maybe the joke is supposed to be, even if we wreck all the landmarks, we've fucked up the world so much, there's really nothing to do to keep civilization going at this point, but to just let the idiots in charge do what they're gonna do and hope for the best. Like, maybe that's the I don't know. And of course, this is just on a first viewing. I'm kind of just laying this out. I haven't had any time to think about it. I just finished watching this like 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, I guess it's just they're the heroes, so the joke at the end of the day has to be that they're right and will always be right.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's all it is. And the more I'm talking it out, I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Is it's just that. But I don't know. Like I said, my main thing is I think this movie could have been funnier.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's fair. I actually think it was funnier than you did.
Yeah, no. When I watched it last night, I did wonder that. I was like, there is a small chance that Cap might find this funnier than I do. A very, very small chance, but that's funny that it ended up working out that way.
Yeah, but it was undercut by all the stuff that puts me off. So
yeah,
and
all the like blowjob.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be to be a prude about it, but that stuff was handled a lot better in the South Park movie.
Yeah,
and I didn't like some of that there. Some of that's just personal taste stuff, but here it just seemed almost obligatory. That was the stuff that felt padded out to me. Like you said it felt like the runtime was padded. That was the stuff that really padded it out to me because I didn't know what that had to do with the political satire and the even the satire about action movies. It was just kind of like it's funny to make blowjob jokes. It's funny to have an acronym that's FAG. Like okay, huh? Like. The one song that I did not find funny at all was Everyone Has AIDS. Because it was just so obvious.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the type of joke I make all the times about AIDS. But even I was just, with that song, I was like, yeah, I don't know, this isn't really hitting me. And then a lot of the stuff with like the blowjob stuff and the FAG thing is like, it goes on too long. Like it's just, we hit that joke and then we go, and then we hit it again, and then we hit it again, and we hit it again, and it just, like, you hit a certain point where you go, okay, like, I get it, like, I get what you're saying, I get the joke, like, that whole thing, right before the climax, when Gary comes back, and the leader guy is like, you have to give me a blowjob, that scene goes on way too long, and I was like, okay, like, can we speed this up?
Well, I think the joke is supposed to be, look how uncomfortable this is, but, like, as soon as here's the problem with it. It's not funny because, and I don't, this is subjective, I don't find that kind of thing funny anyway, but there's no timing to it because at the moment, I can't believe I'm having to have this conversation. At the moment that Gary chooses to go ahead with it, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, like, you should just cut.
Yeah.
And like they don't show anything, and I think it's supposed to be funny that we're just cutting to like a blank shot where his head's not there, but like, okay.
Yeah, no, a lot of that I thought just kind of went on too long, and there's the big speech that Alec Baldwin gives, where he's like, we're the Film Actors Guild. And he says it like 8 times in the span of a minute, and I'm like, I get it. I understand it's an acronym. I get it. It's not funny. Like, this is the type of joke I would write into scripts when I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Well, and I get that that some people just find that kind of potty humor stuff inherently funny, but it feels like it's gratuitous for the sake of gratuitous and going, aren't you shocked that we were able to get this into a movie? And part of the problem is context. No, not anymore. The South Park movie was popular. Like, you got a studio to greenlight that, which was an achievement, and then you got it out, and then surprising a lot of people, you actually made a lot of money with that, and then you were able to get Paramount, I think it was Paramount, to let you make
it is.
Another movie, and almost sight unseen, like, they were weird with the puppet thing. They weren't sure that made sense and why they even wanted to do it that way. And then apparently they came around on it as soon as they started seeing dailies. Like, they thought it was funny. They got why they were doing it. And, like, the South Park guys didn't have any trouble getting them to let them do all the, like, anti-PC stuff because it worked last time, because they know what we will likely make money. So the point I'm making is, so who are you shocking at this point? Like, it's becoming very mainstream now. Like,
Well, especially at that point, like if that happened now, like they say that word in Peacemaker, and I was like, oh, I was kind of surprised that they said that now, because it's like maybe a little bit more taboo. Um, but like back then, like they say it constantly in Bill and Ted. Like it's not that far removed from stuff like that. Like, and is Bill and Ted even R-rated?
no.
No, like.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I didn't even think of that. There's a lot of stuff, or not a lot, but a few things in this movie that I actually think would be shocking and more offensive, and people would think was ballsier now. Just because of the way times have changed and how politically correct overall the culture has gotten. Like, it's obviously it's offensive to people, but you're not worried about getting canceled or people writing negative reviews necessarily about just this the whole gibberish foreign language thing. Like, that's racier now than it is back then.
No, I feel like that happened constantly in comedies back then.
Yeah.
Like that was just kind of the obvious joke, and that's why it didn't make me laugh. Is I was like, I don't know, I've seen this in a million places, and it's not especially funny.
I remember the South Park movie being somewhat about how those guys felt we were already starting to get too sensitive about things, and it's really interesting that they make this movie like contrary to those kinds of sensibilities, but it would be weirder for a lot of people to watch it now. It wasn't as brave at that point. And so I guess the point I'm making is I wish they'd leaned into more of the clever stuff that was in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying like I'm so offended they shouldn't have done that. I get what I'm watching. You know what I mean?
Well,
I get this is a super,
yeah.
a non-PC. I didn't care about the gibberish thing. This is not me calling, oh man, it's so racist. Like they shouldn't be allowed to do that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the movie seems to be saying like, aren't you impressed? We have. I'll just use the movie's terminology. The balls to do that. No, not really. Not no 4. Not right after that movie.
Well, and I've always had the belief that you can make fun of anything. Like you can make anything a joke. Like I don't care. Nothing's off the table. That also doesn't mean
you live
that
by that. That's the main principle, Austin.
That's my main principle in life, and it's the main thing that I will never back down on, even on in the face of Armageddon. But it's not everything's funny, and certain things in this I think could be funny if I thought the timing and maybe delivery was a little bit better, but a lot of it just didn't land in this, unfortunately.
Philip Kelton just put in a big super chat, and I want to say thanks to him for that. He says, honestly, I'm watching it right now. I found it... Oh, you're watching the movie while we're talking about the movie? I found it interesting how much everything reminds me of Avengers, Justice League, in the way they oversimplify things. The base of Team America reminds me of the Batcave. I can see why you're saying that. Just in... Yeah, I mean, when you say oversimplifying things, I assume you mean, like, principles and ideas and things, maybe.
Mm-hmm. All I got from that, Cap, is you have to do a rewind on this movie.
I'm not going to do that, so...
Oh, dang.
Or it'd be the very last thing I did. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the superhero formula is kind of in here to some degree, because it's also just... in some ways, just the action movie formula.
Well, and you can say the same thing about like something like a G.I. Joe or like Transformers, where like if you're looking the right way, you can be like you can justify it as a superhero movie, but you can do it for a ton of stuff.
Josh just put in a $5 super chat. Thanks, man. And I read this too. He says apparently there were more jokes in the script, but they took them out because they thought the puppets being serious was funnier, and that was the right instinct.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what that script looks like.
Me too. Yeah, apparently they had a lot of one-liners and things where the puppets were just like saying silly things, and that makes sense. With the genre they're lampooning, if it is kind of like catchphrases and one-liners and that kind of thing, because the actual heroes don't have a ton of that.
Yeah, which also
they don't make a lot of proclamations and like you know the big like 2-3 word one-liner when somebody when they kill someone. There's not a ton of that in the movie because they said the puppets saying them didn't seem funny to them. Maybe part of it's just the lack of expression.
No, and I think it works into the parody of modern action films of the time, because we were moving away from some of that at that point, where it wasn't like Arnold walking around, and he's got like a line for everything he does. Like we were getting away from that and making more like self-serious action movies.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you this, and we'll go ahead and start wrapping up. We're already at an hour here. Did you find, because you said you didn't seem to find the songs as memorable and funny as I did. Did you like the whole thing about Pearl Harbor, or did that strike you as kind of self-indulgent? Because I'm mixed on it.
So I had a moment where I went like, okay, like that's kind of the obvious joke, and then my head immediately went to, yeah, I'm Canadian. Be fucking lucky, or be fucking glad that you people don't have to deal with the Canadian knockoff of Pearl Harbor, because it's way worse. That's what I had to watch in school, which is the Passchendaele movie. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
So my mind immediately went away from Pearl Harbor to like, be happy with what you have, Americans.
What was funny about it to me in the moment was that they're making a movie kind of like that, and then there's a song about how terrible that movie is, and maybe people aren't like don't have standards and aren't recognizing it, because there's that line about like, why do we keep letting Michael Bay make movies? And it's really funny in 2004.
Yeah, like really, like, he hasn't even made Transformers yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a few years. That comes out what, 08, 09? Like
it's 07.
07?
Yeah.
I guess the sequel must have been 9, yeah?
Yeah, the sequel was 9, yeah.
And but then so I get conflicted with this kind of thing, because I always like to try to look at a piece apart from the people that make it and the making of and stuff as much as possible. So like it's it's interesting to talk about that stuff, but I don't like it to inform my read on a movie too much, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I live by is death of the author, Austin, and I'll hang on to that till I go to the grave too.
Yeah.
But
I hear that too.
But with something like this, it's sometimes the more you know, the more seams start to show, right? So, with that particular example, it reads more self-indulgent to me now that I know that the reason those guys put that song in there is because Pearl Harbor was one of the movies that they were that they were researching, and they actually watched over and over again in formulating the movie. So they've just got Pearl Harbor on the brains because they've been watching it, so they make a song about it, and so it feels more self-indulgent to me now that I know that was part of the making of it.
Oh, okay. See, I think where I had that, because I didn't know that, but I mean, it's not hard to tell, I don't think. But where I had that with that song was where it went like, whatever, something Michael Bay made, Pearl Harbor, and it was really bad. No, like really bad. Like really bad. And I was like, okay, like I get it.
Yeah, it seems like you had
watch Passchendaele.
Seems like you had like repetition issues.
Yeah, I was like, just go watch Passchendaele, assholes.
Yeah, but
it's way worse.
Most of us don't know what that is.
It's the Canadian knockoff.
No, I know you said that, but I'm just saying, like, but we didn't know most of us wouldn't even know there is a Canadian knockoff. Like,
no, I know. I just think it's funny that, like, because that's what I had to watch in school. So, like, whenever I hear people make fun of that movie, I'm like, You guys are lucky.
But that's the point I'm making is it probably seems worse to them because they sat through it a bunch of times in making this movie. So now it feels a little bit self-indulgent to me knowing that.
Yeah. No, and that's absolutely true.
If they watched it once, they probably wouldn't have written a song about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like watching it now,
and, like, I get write what you know and stuff, but there's a fine line between that and just like I'm looking for an idea for a song, and then you just grab whatever's on the wall over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll give it to them that they were making that joke early because it got like I think kind of hacky to constantly make fun of Michael Bay as like the worst director of all time. Like only like 3 or 4 years later. So
that's another
like, at
thing
least it was early.
It probably watches better when it comes out. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of this is really timely humor and watches kind of dated now. So, and you know, you make whatever kind of movie you want to make in the moment, but that's the risk you take when you're doing that. Like, you know, talking about 5 seconds. You know, in the past when you make stuff, this is the South Park guys. This is what they do with their show. So it's not really surprising that that's what they did with it.
Yeah,
but
of course,
in 2004, that would feel almost more like exposing something. It'd be like the first time somebody says the Star Wars prequels suck. Like, as those are coming out, I'm not hearing people really complaining about them too much. So much as all of us just being kind of lukewarm and not really talking about them. Like, it's Star Wars. It's probably okay. Like, we're all going to these. I don't know. But, like, people weren't super critical of it. I didn't hear a lot of people complaining about Pearl Harbor when it came out.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything about that movie when it came out. But like, so that probably for some people was the first time it had occurred to them to think critically about that movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of Michael Bay's kind of got that Roland Emmerich thing, right? Where you hit like a certain point where now they're like the poster boy for like shitty action movies, but like there was a time before that where they weren't constantly being hammered for it.
Dude, I'll make a confession here. Up until today, watching this movie, I thought Roland Emmerich made that movie. I forgot he didn't make Pearl Harbor. I thought that was him.
No, because not enough of the world exploded in Pearl Harbor.
Daniver says Pearl Harbor was a big movie in 2001 and critics hated it. Well, I think it flopped, didn't it? Like, I don't think it made a lot of money.
I'm not sure.
I know critics didn't like it, but I don't remember regular moviegoers being critical of that movie. Maybe it's because I didn't see it. Like, I don't know.
I know, it's just kind of like a knockoff of Titanic. Like, it's just that kind of formula slapped onto Pearl Harbor.
Josh says, and I saw it one time, I think, in school, and Josh brought this up too. He said, I remember my history teacher had us watch Pearl Harbor, and he kept pausing the movie to go, this didn't happen, this definitely didn't happen.
See, I wish I had that. My history teacher showed me Passchendaele and then talked about how he had a cocaine nail. He was a weird guy.
Fidelio is coining a word here that I love, and I'm going to steal from him, and I'm going to start using all the damn time. Unless he didn't come up with this, but I've never heard anybody else say this, and I love it. He says, I actually think Michael Bay is a weirdly interesting filmmaker in his maximalism. Mm-hmm. Not minimalism, maximalism. Have you ever heard anybody coin that? That's fantastic.
No, but I mean, that makes sense.
And he says, but man, is Pearl Harbor a piece of shit.
I've never put it into words like that, but I've always kind of had that with Michael Bay, where I'm like, I wouldn't call him a good director, but like I also can't call him one of the worst directors. Like I can look at his movies and be like, okay, like I can kind of see what's going on, but
yeah, the only way to and Emmerich has this to some degree too. The only way to describe filmmakers like that is they subscribe to the philosophy of more is more.
Yeah, exactly. And then if Michael Bay read like a philosophy book, he becomes Zack Snyder. There's like a whole like group of these people that like are in Hollywood.
Snyder has that too. Yeah, like and he's really hit on something here because and I don't mean to speak for anybody, but people who are big fans of that kind of filmmaking that really love like BVS and the Snyder Cut and that kind of grandiose Snyder stuff.
Revenge of the Fallen.
Maximalism, like that's probably what some of those folks are into.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely.
It's like just how big can you make it?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, Michael Bay did that movie last year, Ambulance, which is like the most nauseating trailer I've ever seen. Which is it's a
I heard
movie.
horrible things about that.
It's a movie about just guys who like steal an ambulance, and there's like shots where it like starts on a building and it's like flipping around and like going to street level, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? You got the new Morpheus guy. There's a shot of him where he's screaming and he's shaking around, and like camera's like zoomed in on his chin, and he's flying in and out of frame. It's like the greatest shot of all time.
See, that sounds like what Fidelia's talking. That's maximalism.
Exactly.
Maximalism. Yeah, I'm stuck on this. Is when like a minimalistic movie or episode of TV or something is like you had $10 to work with, but you made it feel like 100, even if you're not looking at anything on the screen. Maximalism is you had $100, and it feels like you had $1,000,000.
See, now I just wish that Michael Bay made Beast Wars so that he could have the phrase maximalism in it as like a thing where people hate the Maximals.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're a maximalist.
Yeah, and then anytime somebody makes something that's like the Maximals and people don't like it, they can be like, see, that's maximalism.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Make it Michael Bay. I mean, don't leave Transformers alone.
Hey, what else do we need to talk about with this movie?
I'm not sure. Is there any? Because I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I think kind of went in one ear and out the other, and like it's a little hard to remember it in full.
I had that a little myself, honestly.
It wasn't really a movie that stuck with me super well. But like I feel like we hit kind of all the major beats.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I think it's real sloppy.
Hmm.
I'm glad it wasn't any longer than it was.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
But yeah, weirdly, I don't know if I can even say I liked it more than I found it funnier than you did.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely a case, I think.
But it probably lost me in a different way than it did you at the point that it lost me, because I was so grossed out by like the 2-minute vomit scene and all that kind of stuff. Like I just didn't even like I looked away. I did not look at that scene. I don't know what that scene looks like. I couldn't do it. I did turn back and I saw him in like the giant pool of his vomit, but I didn't see the rest of it. Like, no, I'm not watching that. I'm sorry. I know this is a paid review, but you can't pay me enough to watch that whole scene. I can't do
it. Well, Cap, now you've shown weakness. Now people will request more things like that scene.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
It's like bullying.
Fuck. I need to stop being an open book.
You need to be like, guys, I fucking love vomit. Like, just vomit in front of me. Immediately end it.
This is very freeing, by the way, just, being able to swear, because we're talking about a movie where there's a whole speech about dicks and assholes, and it makes me want to. I might do this just for the fun of it. It makes me want to put out a poll and see if people want us to lift the swearing embargo forever.
You should have it where it's like poll.
I know that's what you want. You probably want that.
I don't care either way. But you should have the poll be where it's like, should we lift the swearing embargo forever? No, don't do it, Cap. And yes, fuck it.
Geekvolution, fuck yeah.
That's what it should be.
It's like, wow, Cap has really changed. Something's really happened to that guy.
He's really gone crazy. He's getting tattoos and he's swearing. Next he's gonna be smoking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna get through those Smallville streams without swearing. That sounds hard.
Fuck that.
Anyway, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat haphazard review of Team America World Police. It sounds like a sequel. I actually checked into that when I saw the title. I was like, is there a first one? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, of course. It's Team America First America.
Austin, this is the first movie we've done in a while. We've been doing a lot of comics, and next week we are going back to comics again, and
Oh,
we're,
cool.
we're reviewing a somewhat essential in some people's minds book, 6-issue miniseries that I'm remiss I've never read. I think we should. I'm glad we're doing this. Elliot Slater asked for Jeff Johns' Green Lantern Rebirth.
Oh, cool. And I picked that up on the big sale recently because Green Lantern, I'm saying Green Arrow. Green Lantern's a big blind spot for me, but I picked up some of that because it was cheap.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
so
you have it
that's
already,
awesome.
and you don't have to
Yeah.
spend extra
Uh,
money on it.
no, I'm excited to see that because I've heard great things about his run.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I've read Blackest Night and stuff. I mean, I've read some of the Green Lantern stuff he's done, of course, but kind of like with Flash, like I read all the Flashpoint stuff. I never read all of Jeff Johns' actual Flash run.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've only read Green Lantern and Justice League stuff. I've never really read his own solo stuff.
Daniverse Cap, you haven't done any regular Green Lantern comics. Do you mean for not Spawn Year with like the single issues, or do you mean
I think just
ever
in
in
general.
my? I don't think I have.
Yeah, I think he's calling you out.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna. Sorry, we'll end out here in a second. I will fight you on that for a second and say when I was reviewing new issues and doing new acquisitions week to week, I did a couple of times have Green Lantern books on my pull, and I did talk about those issues. So I haven't done like I don't think, a discussion on a finished story arc. But I have talked about things as they were coming out. So like I was reading during Rebirth, I was reading Green Lanterns, and of course I used to review Red Lanterns, but that doesn't count, I guess. But
Yeah, it's a whole other lantern.
I have done a little bit of stuff here and there in singles. Josh put in a $2 super chat and says, "I love Jeff Johns' Green Lantern." Well, that's great because we're going to talk about it, and it'll give you an excuse to read it again, Josh, if you want to.
That's also apparently one of the only other good Earth One books is Green Lantern. I've heard is pretty cool.
Yes, which people have been trying to get me to review. I say people. A couple of folks recently have mentioned it because we did Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and so a couple of people came out of the woodwork and were like, well, here's all the other stuff that's come out recently that you should probably look at since you haven't been reviewing recent stuff. So I was shocked to see the sheer number of like standalone and out of continuity stories they've been doing over there, and good on them for that, man. Because we were making a big deal the other day in that review about how that really should be where their focus is, and of course that's not all they're doing. But like this guy on the community tab listed out 15 or 16 as the good ones, and I'm like, how many are there? That's fantastic if they're doing that much of it, and it's not all Black Label stuff.
Yeah. Well, we still got to review I'm Not Starfire.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But yeah, there's even other things that that I've taken a peek at but didn't finish. That guy didn't mention. Like there's a Joker thing I started reading. I can't remember what that was called.
Oh yeah, I think I heard there was a new Joker mini.
Well, this is from a couple years ago. I think there's even another one like recently, and there's something with Batman and Joker teaming up that just came out. Like there's a bunch of stuff right now.
There's that new pregnant Joker. There's a lot of Joker stuff going on.
I heard about that. Yeah, but I'm excited that there's that much standalone stuff that doesn't really require any kind of prerequisite.
Well, that's what I've always said is like really easy to get people into reading Batman is that there's so much just like single like one-off things in Batman that you can easily just hand to people.
Yeah,
that's a lot harder for other characters. Like Batman's probably the easiest character to get into or like to get somebody else into, especially if they're not into comics. So it's cool to see DC kind of expand that outwards and kind of give some of that to other characters and teams.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is that was kind of the whole mantra for Earth 1, and then those ended up being really few and far between. And now it seems like we're doing a bunch of stuff that just sort of look like Earth 1 books. And some of them are in continuity, don't get me wrong, but some of them
no,
are.
Earth 1 is a
Harleen could have easily been called Harley Quinn Earth 1.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, Earth 1's a giant missed opportunity.
Yeah, because a lot of that was great, and it took forever for any of it to come out.
Yeah, and Batman Earth 1 Volume 3, it took so long to come out that by the time it finally did, I was like, I don't care a ton, and then everything I've heard about it sounds not great. So
I keep forgetting that's even out. I mean, it's been a couple years now, I think, and
yeah,
I've never read it.
yeah, and they shared art for Volume 3 like a month after Volume 2 came out. They're like, "Here we go, guys. Volume 3 will not be a 2-year wait."
Fidelio says, "Have you guys ever covered Miracle Man?" No, I still haven't. People keep asking me about that. Yeah, I've never finished that. The problem right now, we will finish this out. Now we're just talking comics.
Yeah.
The problem right now is I don't have a dedicated day in the week for comic reviews, and so fitting these in is really difficult.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's why we had to do Supergirl on Monday.
yeah, like
Just gonna
some
fit in.
folks were kind of irritated that we did that and not some other things, and I'm like, yeah, but like that almost didn't even happen. Like we had a hard time fitting that in anywhere.
Yeah, that was either going to be like weeks from now or that day. So it's like, I guess
Yeah.
we're doing it that day.
So like short of removing one of the Captain Logan shows and doing a comic review that night, but like those have been doing pretty well, and
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of hate to lose that because I'm kind of glad that we're doing that twice a week now. But
No,
so I don't know. I want to figure something out with that because it
your
sounds like there's a
schedule's too tight.
yeah, it is. It sounds like there's a bunch of stuff that's worth reviewing, and I kind of miss comics. So
Yeah, and I've been reading a ton of comics lately. I started rereading Alan Moore's Swamp Thing today, and I'm excited to get through that again because I've only read the first trade, and I picked up all of it on the sale that they had
and
at
I
the end of
haven't,
last year.
and I have too, but it's been years.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited to finally go through all of that, and I've been reading Jonah Hex, and that's really good. Just a ton of good comics that I've like never read, so it feels really cool.
Anyway, we're going to get going, folks. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Tomorrow night, Captain Logan Show. Friday night is the epic, insane, almost 24-hour stream for the first season of Smallville. John and I are going to be watching that entire season cover to cover. We're going to be counting lots of things. It's going to be kind of a scavenger hunt. I'm going to have giveaways. I might be singing karaoke on that show. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that we're gonna be doing for Counting Crypto Freaks, and we are planning on doing the entire series and doing 10 of those, hopefully as close to once a month as possible. So whether you like Smallville or not, it's going to be a good time. We'll be talking about things we like, but we'll obviously be doing lots of riffing and stuff as well. So pop in, hang out with us, and hope to see you there. I am Captain Logan, and this is Austin, the Day Ghost.
Goodbye, everybody. Fuck yeah.